Hey, I'm Di Gillett, and this is the Power of Women podcast. We're a platform that showcases and celebrates the strength, resilience and achievement of women from all walks of life. In each episode, I pose questions to my guests to peel away the layers to reveal the knowledge and the experience that shapes their narrative. So if you're feeling unseen, unheard, or simply looking for inspiration, then the Power of Women podcast is a great place to join the conversation. I'm Di Gillett, and this is the Power of Women podcast. It's actually the first year end at Power of Women, and it has been a season packed full of talking with so many fabulous females, both in Australia and around the world, which I really loved. And I've had the opportunity to speak with a female CEO in Saudi, I can't believe it, but an amazing master shaman on the Gold Coast, renowned female comedians in Australia, which are names that we all know, thought leaders, mindfulness experts, female gin distillers, and that is only scratching the surface. All of these women have powerful stories to tell and some really rich insights to share and pearls of wisdom for you to take on board. And you know, that is what the Power of Women podcast is all about. That's why I developed it, mentoring through storytelling as we unpack the narratives of inspiring women to share with you. A new episode drops every Monday. And whilst this has been a year jam-packed full of learnings, not everything I've actually learned has come from the podcast. Hey, only the other day I learnt there are plastic sleeves to protect the arms of your glasses whilst having your hair coloured. I also learnt while I was having my nails done with my long-time nail technician the other day that vodka cleans the stains off your nail polish. Who knew? But on a more serious note, what this year has actually taught me is, if you are curious, if you are open to venturing into new territory, and if you are prepared to step outside the comfort zone, the rewards can be fabulous. You may be nervous about getting started, which I understand, as I was. You may keep making excuses as to when is a good time to launch. However, embrace the uncomfortable, because there is no better time to start than right now. So enjoy your break, however and wherever you celebrate. Whilst it has been a tumultuous year, globally, politically and socially, I'm approaching this new year with bucket loads of enthusiasm, and I am really looking forward to connecting with you in 2025. And 3 decades on, what was the final on-air gig that you had, and how long did you hold it for?
So I did probably 2 really big breakfast shows. Richard Stubbs' breakfast show, The Cage, did the grill team.
Yep.
In the afternoons, went to Sydney, became national, all of that. Then Triple M came to an end. The show had run its race, run its time, and somebody was leaving. So I got a job at Mix, which was another breakfast show. Then moved on to Gold, and when I got onto Gold FM's a station for older people. So I thought, I'm home and hosed. I will stay here for the rest of my life. They don't ever get rid of you.
I can retire here. Yep.
And I was as happy as a lark.
Which is how a lot of people approach their career.
Yeah, happy as a lark. And then one day, December, just before Christmas, they'd offered me a contract. I was waiting for my manager to come back to sign it. I did the show. We had a post-show meeting for tomorrow. Then they called me in and sacked me. And I have never been more blindsided in my life.
Wow.
I had a contract, so I had no idea.
You had a contract and they still sacked you?
I hadn't signed it and they sacked me. And I said, well, hang on, you offered me a contract. What's changed? Oh, well, just things have changed. We've done tests and people don't want you or something like that. And literally it was get your box, walk out the door.
Wow.
So never got to say
Different
goodbye.
to the corporate world where you have to be given X amount of
Yeah,
notice,
none of that.
warnings on performance.
Yep.
There's nothing. It's just it's done because it's all contract-based.
Yeah. And I think what really got me was usually they sack a whole show.
Yep.
But I was working with Lemo at the time, a comedian, and they sacked me and replaced me. I think had they sacked the whole show, it would have been easier to deal with. It was, I mean, once again, I look
do you
back
remember
now,
what your feelings were when that first happened?
I was completely and utterly devastated.
Because it was, your career was you.
And it's all I knew.
You were a brand.
It's all I knew. And I remember my children, when I had them, only knew me as that person on the radio.
Yep. How old were they when this happened?
They must have been about 13 and 15. So I had two kids at private schools, no husband, literally. And what upsets me the most in retrospect is I never had a plan B. It just kept going, this media career. I never, ever, and that was stupid, looking back.
Yeah, but something that many people listening to this podcast would relate to.
Yeah, I mean, I should have been smarter because everyone gets sacked in the media eventually.
Their background was very Indigenous in nature. They would not necessarily call themselves shamanic, but let's say medicine women. So they were brought up to understand the ebb and flow of nature and the rhythms of nature. And so the boys in my family, my two brothers, were not inclined to go that way. So it was the women that came together and spoke from, using your instincts, your gut feeling, as it were, which would be a term that we would use now.
So as we've said a few times off camera, nothing's a coincidence.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidence at all.
Yeah. There you go.
This is where we get into trouble, isn't it? It's like I don't think people understand there is a natural flow and rhythm. I mean, all you have to do is refer to the seasons and the changing of seasons. I think we kind of take that for granted, but we also have changes of seasons internally. Constantly changing, some of us don't exactly have the same friends as we had in our 20s because we've grown in different ways. We feel differently, we think differently, we have different goals, and one would hope if you're evolving.
And it's interesting. I mean, I did used to think there was such thing as coincidence, but it's very, very clear that everything does happen for a reason, and life experience teaches you that.
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow too, because if you come up against certain adversities, let's say, it's hard to swallow that pill because you feel a victim.
Sometimes it feels a bit of a punishment, but it's not.
No, it's evolutionary. Particularly with women being vulnerable in the sense of not in the way that they are in their body, but the vulnerability of their emotional body, because their sensory perception is different based on our hormones, actually. It's based on our chemistry inside. And so, a lot of women have empathy. They're reaching out, particularly women that have given birth to children. That empathy is actually much, much greater in a woman that has given birth, because they're always sensing, the little puppies, the children everywhere, And so, and this is the beautiful part of the feminine nature, is the instinctual energy that women come from, which is creativity. That's the power.
I see a lot of issues in workplaces, and I see a lot of people doing their absolute best, really working hard and well-intentioned. But I just see that the systems that are in operation in many workplaces, which are the obvious outcomes in the way in which we run our lives, the world, the systems that we have in place. I'm talking about the larger systems here.
Yeah.
And they are becoming less and less humanistic.
Yeah. Yeah, you lose the ability to express who you are. So, I mean, I follow that same point that you say about being unemployable, and it's not in the literal sense. I mean, people have sought out both of our skills over time, but we won't be dictated to how we might fit in, behave, present, and that's not always to everybody's flavour.
Di, have you ever thought of that as we're actually quite old-fashioned?
No, because that doesn't kind of ring as a groovy, edgy thing. Old-fashioned.
Let me explain. Remember, no, actually we can't remember, we weren't there, but think back, there was the baker, the farrier.
Yeah.
People worked from home.
Yep, the milkman.
Yeah, so people had family businesses like that was small.
Yeah.
And so that's rather old-fashioned. Isn't it wonderful?
Okay, I'm happy to be old-fashioned.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
I think we get businesses to a point where hierarchy and bureaucracy works against the humanism that we need to actually make the progress that we need.
Yeah.
It holds people into groups where people, in order to cope, become quite defensive. So that shows up as either passive behaviours
the
or
behaviours that go with that. Yeah, right.
Fight, flight and freeze, yeah.
And that's how my Buddhist life started. I didn't continue to be a nun at that stage. I just did the process I think I was there for about 3 or 4 months. Detoxed, came home, started to rebuild my life that I didn't have. And went from that and mastered shiatsu, Zen shiatsu, had a busy clinic. I actually had a college downtown in Chinatown in Sydney for some years, and started to quest into why people keep coming back here every 2 weeks with the same condition. Could it be that their mind is affecting their body?
Interesting.
So, I've been thinking out of the box, as it were, for a really long time and questing into the way that you can heal yourself at every level. There's an intelligence inside of us is enormous that we're just not tapping into.
And your curiosity was clearly had no bounds.
Yeah, yes. As I've gotten older, I've depersonalized my journey more. I've had quite a few near-death experiences myself and resurrected myself so many times. I don't know if I've got any lives left at this stage, getting closer to my 70s. I'm like, hey.
I can't believe you're close to your 70s. Look at you. Amazing.
Yeah. Good lighting. So... So that's how my journey started, I believe, the biggest teaching is out of your own misery. And if you can get out of your own way, then it's an experience that people can learn from.
I started in comedy first, so I'd been in sales and marketing. I used to work for Diners Club. I was their top salesperson, and unfortunately...
Nothing funny about that?
Nothing funny at all. Mind-numbingly dull.
Yeah.
But I was one of those funny women that was on all the time. And then I got the sack from that job because I said no to having sex with the boss. And in those days, if you said no to sex with the boss, you got the boot.
Yeah.
And interestingly...
Unless you photographed it, yeah.
That's right, yeah. But I went to the then Arbitration Commission and took action against them for wrongful dismissal. And
how did that blow back in those days? Come back at you hard? Or not?
No, because I left the company.
Yeah.
But I just thought, no, this is wrong. I'm not being sacked because I was the top selling salesperson.
Yeah.
But he just decided that because I'd said no, I was persona non grata, and this was 30 years ago. Yeah. And so, I got a couple of months' salary, but the point was, it was the first time that I stood up for myself.
Well done.
And so then I couldn't get another job because I'd been so successful in that job that I was topping sales nationally. And every job I went to, they just went, well, you're earning too much money. We can't. And I was begging to get any sort of sales job.
And the tribunal bit didn't follow you? That's why I asked it.
No, well, nothing was...
Because sometimes we're too scared to put our hands up because we thought there was going to be repercussions that would never shake off.
Computers had just been invented.
Yeah, right.
Like I was working on a friend's Apple Mac.
That HR file didn't come with you in paper?
Yeah, no, absolutely nothing. So... and then I did a personal development course, a 12-week program based on metaphysics and muscle testing, kinesiology and essential oils and homeopathy. And I remember a whole bunch of us went to the then Last Laugh, which was in Smith Street, Collingwood.
Yeah.
And I saw a female just completely tearing the men to shreds. And I just went, I don't like this. And in the break, I just said, I think I might do stand-up comedy. And everybody went, oh, my God, thank you. And I just went, what? And they'd all been saying, you need to do this. And so that's how I got into it. I was 30.
30? That's brave.
Well, yes and no, because I don't think you've got anything to say before you're 30. I look at all these twinks doing comedy now, and a lot of them are great, but there's no real lived experience. I don't think. For me, I really didn't have anything to say. And the thing is, stand-up comedy is really about being angry, which is why I don't do it anymore, because I'm not angry.
Yeah,
I'm just not. I mean, I can get angry at injustice, but I'm not going to write a show about being angry, because how boring is that?
Hey, as always, please subscribe and follow the Power of Women podcast on whatever platform you get your content. And engage with me on the socials. Until next time. If you're loving the Power of Women podcast, be sure to jump on to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode.